Are you intrigued by the idea of growing your own nutrient-rich sprouts, but have questions like, what is that white fuzzy stuff? Are these ready to eat? What do I do with all these sprouts? Get ready to soak up the wisdom of Nicki Perkins, certified nutritional counselor, health coach, and EFT practitioner. Nicki's expertise will guide us through the secrets of successful home sprouting, empowering you to cultivate nutrient-packed superfoods with confidence.
Greetings, Green Warrior, and welcome, Nicki.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're here. You know, Green Warrior, if you're intrigued by the idea of growing your own nutrient-rich sprouts, but you're worried about common challenges like mold or how long to soak your seeds or when are they ready for harvest, just don't worry about it. Say goodbye to your uncertainty because today, Nicki will unlock the secrets of hassle-free sprouting. I am so excited about this, Nicki.
Let's hope that we can answer everybody's questions.
Yes, and if you do have a question, please type that in the chat, and I'll bring that up a little bit later during the broadcast for Nicki to answer. Nicki, tell us why should we be sprouting? I mean, what's so great about it?
It's good for us. We are unlocking nutrients that otherwise we would be missing out. When you soak your seeds, you're unlocking nutrition. You're getting rid of anti-nutrients. So that's already a good thing to do. And then they are literally multiplying the vitamins, the nutrients, everything. There's so much more beneficial once you start sprouting them. You know what you're getting. Nowadays, food is it's sprayed, it's got chemicals, it's got all sorts of things added. You can obviously buy organic, but when you're growing it yourself, you know what you're growing. You know how it was grown. All you're using is water. It's also cheap. I don't know about where you live in the world, but for me, to get a nice big jar of sprouts, it doesn't cost me. It costs me a few euros, and with a few euros, I actually can't buy a whole lot of really nice food. And this is really nutrient dense food, so you're really getting a lot for your money. You've got more bioavailability. As you're waking up the seed, you're unlocking certain nutrients that you wouldn't get otherwise. The seeds that I don't remember the exact numbers, but if you take a lentil and you just take the dry lentil and cook it, you're missing out. If you soak it and then sprout it, so much more nutritious. You're taking care of these little things. It's a sort of a meditative process. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning and take care of them because they depend on you. They have everything they need within the seeds to grow, but they do need water. And so, you create this sort of symbiosis with them. You just have to remember to rinse them. You're growing your own food. And you know where it was grown, no pesticides, no nothing.
I'm a sprouter. I wasn't successful at first, but I did a lot of research and learned. And if I had you on the show back 10 years ago when I was trying to, and I didn't have the show yet, then of course it would have been very helpful. So I'm really hoping that Green Warriors out there that are watching, let us know in the comments. Have you tried sprouting? And if you have and you didn't have success, what were the things that didn't work out for you? Or if you are successful, let us know what you have been sprouting or what you're interested in sprouting, because there's so much to learn, and we're going to unpack all of this today. I'm going to start off with our game of true or false.
It's time for True or False on Be Green with Amy Live. Answer true or false to Amy's questions in the comments below, and Amy will ask our guest for the expert answer.
Okay, so we were talking about sprouting, and some people may not know the difference between the two things that I'm talking about, so you might have to unpack that as well. But our question is, true or false, microgreens are more nutritious than sprouts? Some people think that they're the same thing, and some people don't know the difference. So maybe you can talk about that. And while the Green Warriors are typing in their guess, you can also tell us the answer.
Okay. So the sprout and the microgreen, they both come from the same seed. So quite often, you hear in our sprouting group, we hear questions such as, it says on the packet sprouting seeds or for microgreens. Can I use them for sprouts or can I use them for microgreens? Yes, the seed is the same. It's the way that you grow them that's different, the methods, and also the time that you leave them to grow. So the sprouts is just the germinated seed. It's like the baby, okay? And usually it can be ready to eat within, it depends on what you're growing, but it could be ready between 3 to 7 days. Depends on the seed, it depends on the time of year, how warm it is, etc., etc. With the sprout, you eat the whole thing. You eat the whole seed. You don't throw anything away. Maybe some of the empty seed holes, you can throw those away. But that's it. That's the sprout. The microgreen, so I think it's a term that, okay, so technically, as far as I know, microgreens are supposedly grown on a substrate, okay? So they take longer because they're growing on a substrate, and you grow them so they actually grow leaves. And apparently they're ready when they've produced or just before, or when they just have their first true leaves, not their first 2 baby leaves. So you harvest the microgreens, you cut them, you don't eat, because if you're growing on soil, obviously you're not going to pull them out of the soil and then wash them off and eat the roots. You don't do that. You don't eat the whole thing. You have to harvest them. You have to cut them. So that would be a microgreen, and it could take anything from about a week. Depends on what you're growing. Some take longer, like coriander, it could be 3 weeks, but generally, like a week, 10 days, something like that, to grow a microgreen. But then there's that sort of in-between thing, right? I use, and I've got some here. So let me just lift them up a bit. So these are if you can really see them. I don't want to spill water on my computer. Okay, so this is a geo terracotta tray. Let me just lift up this. Okay, so you can see some of the roots are going through. So these are onion seeds. Now, technically, you could say, okay, these are microgreens, like they've grown up. But if I take some, okay, I'm just going to take some. They're actually sprouts. I can eat the whole thing. So it depends what you're growing. Oops, now I've got, actually, these are garlic sprouts. And my God, they're so good. They're so delicious. In this case, it's sort of an in-between. And I can do this with broccoli, with all sorts. So I'm actually pulling them out, and I get to eat the roots as well. So what can I call those? Are they microgreens? Are they sprouts? I think of them as like sprouty microgreens. They're an in-between. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's just a name. But technically, I think if you think, okay, you're growing them on soil or on some sort of substrate and you cut them, that's your microgreen. If you're eating the whole seed, the whole thing, that's the sprout, okay? Which one is more nutritious? There is actually a really good study. And if you want, I'll send it to you afterwards and you can link it where you need to link it. And it was talking about the difference between, which one is more nutritious. And it's like saying which is the most nutritious fruit, or you can't really say, because sprouts, maybe they're higher in amino acids, whereas beta carotenes or other certain nutrients, it's higher in microgreens. So at the end of the day, I say eat both. Rotate them. And again, it depends which one you're talking about. They all have different nutritional profiles. So yeah, I think some seeds are, even though you can grow everything, most seeds as both sprouts and microgreens. Some are more, mung beans are usually better grown as sprouts. You can grow them as microgreens, but they're a bit stringy. The same with lentils. They're better grown as sprouts. You can grow them as microgreens, but they're going to be a bit stringy. Just cut off the tips. And other things such as, chard, beets, they are usually grown more as microgreens and not sprouts. So I hope that's helpful answer.
That was very helpful. Yeah, thank you. I think that might have helped a
I
lot of
passed.
people.
I passed the test.
You definitely passed the test even before you came on.
Oh, I want to eat
Okay.
this now.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to.
You know what? Well, you can.
Yes.
Make us want to grow sprouts.
Yeah.
And those are, you said garlic?
Yeah. Oh my God. It's just like the queen of, yeah. Have you ever grown garlic or garlic or onion or leek chives?
Yes.
They are just the best. I mean,
Yes.
they are so tasty.
Not as a sprout, but I have when you get
Yeah.
them when
You
I
can
buy
grow
them.
you can grow them in a jar as well. They're
Yeah.
just ridiculously delicious.
Yeah, I cut off the green part and I use that for my food preparation, and then the bottom white part with the roots, and I just stick it in soil and
All
water it.
right.
And
No, these are actually the little
yeah.
seeds are microgreen seeds. So you just sprout them. And
Ah.
they are so delicious. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, you just showed us a wonderful geo tray, which I happen to have, and it comes. This is mine. These are
Oh,
broccoli,
wow. Yeah.
and it's a beautiful. I love this because it comes in a tower, and you get
Yes.
3 trays, and so it's
Yeah.
kind of like an instant pot in the plant-based world.
Yeah. It's
What's better
fantastic.
than 1,
It's
2?
fantastic. Yeah. I have 4 sets, and
Yeah.
I've spoken so much about it. I'm sure people must think that I'm it's an Italian company. People must think that I'm related in some way. I'm
Uh-huh.
really not.
Yeah.
I'm not affiliated anyway, but I love it
Yeah.
because you can literally grow anything on them.
Well, let's talk about the best ways to sprout and what is the best sprouting vessel to use. What do you think?
Okay, so if someone is just starting out, I would say go with a nice jar. Invest in a nice jar with a nice sprouting lid, a mesh lid. You can't go wrong with a jar. You can't go wrong. The only thing that you can't grow in a jar is mucilaginous seeds. So, the gelatinous ones, such as cress, arugula, rockets, some mustard, flax. Because they are gelatinous, they have this, when they get wet, they have this, they're really, seeds are smart, Amy, they're smart little things. And flax take sprout intelligence to another level. They're like little camels. When they get wet, they hold on to all that water. They're smart. And so you can't then go and think, okay, I'm going to drain you now. No. They say, we're holding on to this water. So you can't drain them in a jar. They're just going to clog. They hold on to that water. They're not going to let it go. They're smart. They say, no, you might not come back and water me again. So you have to, usually they're mostly grown on a substrate, on a hemp mat, on soil or something like that. But you can sprout them. And I saved, hold on, let me show you. So this, I don't want to drip everywhere. So this is flax growing on a geo tray. Yeah, so you can see the roots underneath. Yeah. So I would usually have harvested this sooner, or not harvested, like I eat it when I need it. But I wanted to keep it to show you. So that's why it's actually really, really long. And there's no substrate, there's no soil, there's no nothing. It's just growing on a terracotta thingy. And so, yes, for the mucilaginous seeds, they go really well on the terracotta tray because it's not a problem of draining. The terracotta will absorb any excess moisture. So it's not a problem. So going back to your question, what would the first, if someone's starting out, I would say, go with a jar, because, maybe the terracotta trays, you have to pay more for them. And maybe if you're just starting out, you say, I don't want to fork out all that money. Okay, go with a jar. And also bags, hemp bags, they're very, I like using a hemp bag. For example, if I want to sprout a lot of flax to make flax crackers, I prefer to sprout the flax before I, use them, the sprouts and crackers. And if I'm going to use the trays, I need to use all my trays. I need to use a load of trays to get a decent amount of flax. So at that point, I just bung it all in a bag and then I've got a really nice amount. So the bags are really nice too. They're just a really big pain in the posterior when you need to clean them out. Whereas a jar, you rinse it and you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So I do have the geo trays, which I love, but I also I started off, as Nicki was talking about, I started off with just a regular mason jar, a wide mouth. And one of the things that you can buy, but this is made out of plastic, so not everybody would like it, but it is a lid that screws on, and I can do that without spilling it. There are tiny pinholes there, as Nicki knows. I'm showing everybody that, and this is the way that you can pour it out and drain it. And then now what I've learned is that after you drain it and you're just going to have those wet seeds in there, you want to tell people what to do once those wet seeds are in there.
So once when you soak your seeds, so the amount of time you soak your seeds, I generally soak overnight just because it's easier for me. I go to, before I go to bed, put them in soak, and the next morning I drain them. I don't have to think about, how many hours, whereas if I do it during the day, it's a little, I need to sort of calculate, and I haven't got time for that. So it's just like, do it in the night, whatever. There are some seeds that I prefer to soak for a shorter amount of time, and that's sunflower. I've just been experimenting, and I find that 4 to 6 hours, they seem to be, here are some on a geo tray. I've got some more over on soil. I think they prefer soil, if I have to be completely honest, but you can grow them on these geo trays as well. So usually I soak overnight. The next morning you want to, throw away that water, rinse them, and then drain. And just going to really shake that jar through the mesh, through the lid. And then you're not just going to leave them all sitting on your mesh lid, because you want some air in there. So what I like to do is, I haven't got a check. Let's imagine that this is my jar, right? I could have brought a jar, but anyway. Okay, well, we'll just say this is my jar. And I'm just going to shake my seeds around so that they're sort of sticking around the side of my jar, right? And then I leave them upside down on a tilt. So not like that, but like that, if you get my drift, right? So
and
that.
They do have the accessories that you can buy if you wanted to balance them on a tilt. This is something that I have here.
Yeah, I've got those.
That you can put the jar on, and I'm not going to put mine upside down, but I'll just so that I can show everybody.
Yeah.
The jar would be this way, but of course it would be upside down, and then that it would be on that tilt. That's one way that you could do it. And sometimes for me, I found that the liquid that comes out of it can sometimes be brown and maybe staining. So I don't know if everybody gets this, but for me, sometimes I'll buy mushrooms and they come in this kind of a container, and it just fits perfectly in that container, so that any of that liquid that comes out, it can just be in this container, and then I can pour it down the drain without it staining the sides of my sink or wherever I might happen to be using it. So that's just one of many ways that I'm sharing, that I'm sure Nicki has lots of
definitely
tips as far as that goes.
And some seeds that you wouldn't think that they actually stain, even like clover and alfalfa, that water, that draining water, or when they're they're tipped upside down, you go to, I sometimes put them on a little plate, and it does stain. One thing that with water from fenugreek seeds, you can like the soaking water. So when I rinse my seeds, so when I go to soak them, I always give them a bit of a rinse beforehand, and then I leave them to soak. So with fenugreek, that soaking water is like a beautiful, bright, vibrant yellow, and I will use that. I keep it and use it for a tea. It's very nice. Yes, and you
Does it
can
have the flavor of, if anybody has
um
not tried fenugreek, it
a
kinda
li-
tastes a little bit like black licorice, but a very mild, hinty kinda taste of that. So how does
yeah,
that tea taste?
it's nice. I like it, but not everybody likes fenugreek.
Right.
I love it. It has, for me, it's a sort of a curry meets maple syrupy type of thing.
Mm.
Yeah, I really love it. So you can save that water.
I love
And then
that because I'm dumping water out, and meanwhile, for
yeah,
some of
that's
the seeds,
fenugreek.
I
With
could
the
be
others, I wouldn't
using it.
save
Yeah,
it.
you
Yeah.
wouldn't, but
Yeah.
that's very
But I would,
interesting.
when I rinse my stuff, then I just chuck it. I don't have a garden, but I have a terrace. So I just take my rinsing water and I just chuck it on on the plants, and they seem to like it. So
Right, yeah, and that's something I also wanted to share. So, like I said, that for me, I have these plastic lids. That's what I first started out with, and they have little legs on them, the ones that I
yeah,
have, and this way, if you happen to put them upside down, they wouldn't be touching the surface. But the other
yeah,
thing, and I learned this from you too, I think, is that I've used, just cheesecloth, right,
yeah. That's another thing you
as a
can use.
lid,
Yeah,
and it's very inexpensive, and you can cut it to the size of your, like, if you were gonna use a jar, and then you can just discard it after that sprouting session with those
yeah,
seeds, and you don't have to worry about cleaning them.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's something I'm graduating to, and then I found out that they have cheesecloth that is unbleached because, hey, they're
Exactly. Yeah,
bleaching our
I know.
cheesecloth.
I know. I
Like,
found
why do we need this?
unbleached for my plant-based cheeses because I
Ah.
wrap them in, and I had a hard time finding unbleached because I
Yeah,
don't
so
want
I was
bleached
able to
stuff.
find it. I'll put a link in the show
Yeah,
notes, but I haven't opened it yet because I'm almost done with using that cheesecloth,
yeah.
and that's what I wanted.
And if
Go
you
ahead.
want, and for somebody who is really thinking, okay, I want to start out, but I'm not sure I want to invest in a proper sprouting jar,
Yeah.
just use any old jar.
Yeah.
And the only thing is, if you have a proper sprouting lid, it does make life a little bit easier for
Mhm.
rinsing, but you can use a strainer.
Yeah.
I have a problem with lids. I don't know. There seems to be a black hole in my apartment, and one day I will enter and I'll find all my lids because So I sometimes have to use little strainers
Yeah.
because I don't know where they go. I
I
just lose
know,
them.
I know.
I lose them.
They're living the life with our socks. I don't
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
know.
Socks and sprouting lids. They're all there somewhere. So, but you can definitely use a little strainer and just pop that
Okay.
on the top.
So another question that's frequently asked is, are sprouts safe to eat? I mean, should we just be disinfecting our seeds? I've heard people talk about that.
So, when people start off sprouting, I always suggest buy your seeds from a reputable seller, seed, microgreen or sprouting seed retailer, because they have their seeds have been checked for various bacteria, etc. And then you can also become familiar with what you can sprout and what you can't sprout, because just because you can sprout probably anything doesn't mean you probably should be sprouting anything. You don't want to be sprouting red kidney beans, for example. I mean, you could, but then you've got to cook them, and because we're so used to eating our sprouts raw, you might eat one by accident. So I would say buy your seeds from a proper seller and become familiar with, what works, what you like, etc. The studies or the cases where people have actually got sick from eating sprouts, I think that from what I've looked for cases, I've looked online to find they don't seem to be a whole lot. I mean, I could probably find a lot more people who have got sick from eating chicken, for example. But don't always talk about that. But sprouts, I think the people who may have had problems, upset tummy or whatever, how were the sprouts grown? Did you buy them in the supermarket? Who grew them? What hygiene did they use? So the only time I ever bought sprouts was I was having a dinner and I needed some microgreens. So I needed some microgreens. Was it microgreens or sprouts? I can't remember. But I didn't have them and I didn't have time. And I went and I bought some. I opened the packet and they smelled bad. And so I threw them away. I binned them. Now, if I had eaten them, I probably would have got sick. And I probably would have ended up, as one of those numbers of people that get sick. So you have to use your discernment. If something smells off, you don't eat it. But you wouldn't do that. That's with anything you eat, right?
Exactly.
If it's moldy or nothing or slimy, you don't eat it. Do we need to disinfect our seeds? No, we don't. We don't need to disinfect our seeds, and we don't need to disinfect our sprouting vessels. That being said, I do every now and then put my terracotta trays in boiling water. I do every now and then. It's just like to give them a really nice clean, but you don't have to. And also,
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I do. I put them, sometimes I do, or I pour boiling water over, or I just put a big pan and just put them in, just like to give them a really nice spring clean, but you don't have to. And also my sprouting bags. Sometimes I also do that. When I finish using them, clean them out, getting all the bits out, I'll put them in boiling water, but you don't have to. We're not canning,
Right.
I've never disinfected my jars. I think they'd probably break if I poured boiling water over them. I don't know. So just general hygiene, wash your hands. You're touching your food, wash your hands.
Yeah.
And if something smells yucky, then you don't eat it. But then there is this, which is probably, which could be a question. Some seeds do smell. So like I've just said, if it smells bad, bin it, chuck it out. But if you're growing something like broccoli sprouts, cabbage sprouts, radish sprouts, or you're growing like cress, all these brassicas, they are stinky. They are stinky. And so a lot of people, they say, oh my God, my sprouts really smell bad. Do I have to throw them away? Okay, if it's clover, yeah, I would be worried. If I open my clover and it smells nasty, then there's something gone wrong. If it's broccoli or cabbage, it's normal. You have to, there's a difference. Okay, I'm going to be, I hope not rude, but brassicas, they smell like a bit farty. Yeah, they smell farty. But there's a difference between farty sprouts and as if something has crawled into your jar and has passed away, is deceased in your jar. That is not good. If something smells like, something has died in there, then that's really bad. If it's like that farty, gassy smell, that's just a normal brassica smell. So you have to sort of, figure out, is it just farty smell or is it something's gone terribly wrong in that jar smell?
Then you probably, if it had that terribly wrong smell, wouldn't it probably maybe if you touched it?
Yeah, that's another thing. Exactly. If you're looking at if you have your broccoli sprouts and they're like, wow, that's pongy, but they're vibrant and they're nice and, light, and then that's just their normal stench. They can't be blessed in nutrients and beautiful aroma as well. They've had to give somewhere. If, however, you take them out and they're sad, or even worse, they're slimy, then no, obviously they've gone off. So that's not good. That's not a good sign. Yeah,
I think that's for me. That's what I learned over time, because there were lots of them that I threw away, and they probably, looking back, they were probably fine.
Yeah,
but also I wanted to bring up that we had Jim Biersetcher, who is also in the Facebook group that you run.
Yeah.
He's been on the show a couple of times, and he talked about sprouting. And I loved what he said. He said, if you don't think that the sprouts are good and you're worried about them, if you have a garden, just chuck them in the garden.
Yeah, he called it an accidental garden. I love that. Yeah. Accidental garden. You suddenly find that you've got these things growing. Even on a big pot I chucked out hoping to get an accidental garden.
Yeah.
And I ended up with not a proper radish, but it was a really big, I was really proud of it, because I have not got a green, I don't have, my plants, that's basically it. Oh no, I've got two. I've got another one in the bathroom, and I've got a few of these anti-MF things, but that's it. You know, I'm not great with plants, but
yeah. So that I think that's true. That just that if you feel it's kind of slimy or something,
that's
I
not a
want to
good
just
sign.
give you a little shout out. We've got Jill B who said Nicki inspired me. I wanted
Oh,
to.
hi, Jill.
Yeah.
I know Jill.
That's what I figured. I would give you a
Oh,
little shout out there so
thank
that this way
you.
you could feel a little welcome, because when we announced that you were going to be on the show on Facebook, there were so many people that were so they say, I love my Nicks. That's what a lot of them
Oh,
were saying.
oh,
So it's so nice to see that you, and we can tell that you are a kind spirit, and of course you have a lot of
thank
people
you.
that are following you.
Well,
Okay.
it's just spreading the word on, about sprouting and trying to live a better life. Yeah.
Yeah,
To live our best
absolutely.
life.
Yeah, very good. Okay, let me just see if I might have another true or false question. So, okay, so true or false, green warriors? You can soak your seeds for as long as you want, makes no difference. What do you think? True or false? While they're typing in their guesses, go ahead, Nikki, tell us.
Well, I think we sort of answered that one before. So, like I said, generally I soak overnight.
Mhm.
Should you? Is there a limit? Yeah, I think there is.
Yeah.
So if I have actually forgotten before now lentils or mung beans,
Mm.
and they've gone way over 12 hours, and they were fine anyway. They were fine anyway. If with a smaller seed, however, I think you run the risk. If you 12 hours, yeah, they'll probably be fine. But then I think beyond 12, you're sort of pushing your luck.
Yeah.
So, some people actually only only soak their like broccoli for a couple of hours. So I think, the general ideal window is probably 4 to 8 hours for the smaller seeds. However, if we're talking about the mucilaginous seeds, the cress, arugula, flax, chia, they don't need to be soaked very long at all. If you're growing those microgreens, they don't need to be soaked at all. If you're going to grow them on a geo tray or something like that, on a hemp mat, even if you soak them just 5 minutes. For the flax, I find that 20 minutes, half an hour, even a couple of hours, but you don't need to sprout them for very long. You don't need to soak them for very long, I'm sorry. So yes, you can soak them for as long as you want. No, you shouldn't. You might drown them, so don't exaggerate.
Okay. All right. Now, this is something that I struggled with when I was first sprouting, and I didn't know what to do. True or false? Sprouts have to be grown in darkness.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So they don't have to be grown in darkness. So basically, sprouts don't need light. Okay. If you think of a seed when it's growing in nature, it's probably on the ground or underground. So it's going to be growing in darkness. And probably this is probably also one of the reasons why when we're growing microgreens, we tend to weight them down and then put them in blackout, because we're sort of mimicking them growing in nature. They have to push up through the soil, and so they're in darkness, and then they have this this weight above them. But with sprouts, we don't weight them down or anything. They don't need to be in darkness, but they definitely don't need light. I do tend to cover my jars with a black t-shirt or something, and that's purely because I keep them on some shelves which are by a south-facing window, which gets a lot of bright sunshine. And I've just noticed that they seem to do better when they're in darkness, because they're looking for light, so they're going to grow a little bit longer. They stretch out a bit. So that's just my personal preference. I do tend to just chuck a black t-shirt over them. But if you're growing in, my kitchen is a north-facing kitchen. It's really dingy. So if I wanted to sprout them in the kitchen, but I don't have any room at all, then I wouldn't even bother to cover them because there's just not a lot of light in there. So do they have to be grown in darkness? No, they don't. But they don't need light either. Ambient light is fine. But if you're going to store them close to a window, then maybe put a cover over them. If you're growing mung beans, they should be grown in darkness. Not that they have to, but they're sweeter. They taste nicer if they're grown in darkness. So that's probably the only sprout that really you benefit from growing in darkness. One other one, which does, I always used to grow clover in darkness because I just preferred the taste. It's just sweeter. So you need to play around, try them. It's not the same for everybody. Some people prefer different, like bitter, or other people don't like it like that. So, try them, grow them in darkness, then try them. Say, oh, I like these. Let them have light, green up, etc., and then try them again. See what you like. But no, they don't have to be grown in darkness.
Right. And this is what I learned over time after researching it, trying to get it right. And when I heard that some people said, oh, you have to, that was their instructions. You must have them in darkness. And they showed putting them inside of an empty cupboard. And I said to myself, if I did that, I wouldn't remember.
Exactly. Yeah, I've done that before. I have a big cupboard in my kitchen, and for a while I had a lot of space. And so I was using that for some of my sprouts. And then I did forget my mung beans, and I have a picture of it somewhere. They were, it was like, the day of the Triffids or something. They were going to overtake the kitchen. It was scary when I actually did remember, and I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
So I wanted to clarify because Jesus Junkie said when leaves come out, then exposed to light.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Did you want to talk about that part?
Yeah. So the light, the leaves, if there are no leaves, they don't need light. It's when they have those little leaves, if you expose them to the light, then they're going to produce chlorophyll and turn green. So yes, definitely if you want, you don't have to, because taste them. If you're growing something like fenugreek, taste it before you expose it to the light, because when you expose the sprouts to the light, they do change in taste. Some a lot, others such as, maybe broccoli, etc., they don't change so much. Right. They're just pungent from start to finish.
Yeah. For my family, we put them in our smoothies mostly.
Yeah.
Because of that strong taste, so that this way it just gets, blended in the smoothie.
Yeah.
And we don't taste it. And maybe you can show us, because you said earlier, you talked about leaves, and then you talked about true leaves versus not true leaves. And I think so those leaves would be called the cotyledon, right?
Yes. Yes.
So can you show something to the camera that might show the cotyledon?
I can. I'm going to can I get up and get them?
Okay, sure. And I'll just share while you're doing that.
Okay, so hold on. Let me have a look at these. So these are... Now, these don't have any true leaves, or do they? I need to put my glasses on. I have some sunnies over there. They've got some true leaves. Yeah, I don't think there are any here. These are just...
Well, most likely we know what a true leaf would look like.
Yeah, so the true leaves...
cotyledon looks like. So those are the ones that have the cotyledons.
Yeah, so these are just like... These aren't true leaves. These are just the baby leaves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. And those would be the first ones that you would actually see during that sprouting session. Those are the first two leaves that you'll see are the baby leaves, or they call them the cotyledons.
Yes.
And those are the first ones that you'll see, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When you actually see the true leaves, they look completely different. Like the coriander is a proper baby coriander leaf. It looks nothing like these baby leaves. So yeah, with the sunflower, I actually prefer to harvest before, but I let those go. I was hoping to show them to you, and so I've let them go a little bit longer. But I find them to be a little more bitter once they've started to produce their true leaves. Again, you just have to eat them when you like them. There's no law that says you've got to eat them when they've got the true leaves or not, or do what you like.
Yes. Okay. So here we have another true or false. Temperature affects sprout growth.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So I was, just before I came on here, I was speaking to my sister, and she said, she was telling me that she was having difficulty with her coriander seeds. And I asked her, I said, well, they are slower. But she also said, I said, well, what's the temperature like? She said, well, it's been really chilly here. Said, well, there you go. Yes, if I'm growing mung bean sprouts in the winter, in order to fill up my carton and, really, it's going to take me 7-8 days. In the summer, 4 days. So yes, temperature definitely affects the sprouting, the speed of growth.
And that's really good to know, because somebody might, especially if they were in a cold temperature, they might be worried that they were doing something wrong because not much was happening very quickly.
Yeah. And sometimes during the winter, I tend to maybe, like wrap them in a dark towel and try and keep them a little bit warmer. But they seem to do their thing anyway. But yeah, they're faster when it's warmer, for sure.
Okay, well, that's always good to know. I live in the Southwest, and wow.
I can imagine.
I feel like if I blink my eyes, they're growing.
Yeah.
And that's something to learn also, is especially if you want to enjoy them every day, right?
Yeah.
That if you have more than one vessel, whether it's a jar or it's that geo tray, that if you can time them, that's just something I got in that groove where I learned that I could just time them, that I had to do so many each day in order to always have something that I could harvest every day.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's the whole beauty of sprouting, is to be able to eat this live food. It can't get any fresher than that. You're literally eating it from jar, it's ready and you eat it. Whereas if they're ready, if you grow a whole humongous amount and then you store them in the fridge for a week, that doesn't make sense to me. Although if you're very busy and, then do it. It's better than not sprouting at all. But I think it makes more sense to just have a rotation, always have something fresh, ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've really been enjoying that. I wanted to give another shout out from Jill B. Jill B said, everything I know about sprouting and growing microgreens comes from Nicki.
Oh, that's very sweet of you, Jill. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, you do definitely have a fan base. So, hi Roy, hi Raw, hi Vibe. I love that.
Nice.
How long should I soak chickpeas before sprouting? Want to try making raw hummus? Oh, that's such a great thing to do. I haven't tried that yet.
Okay, so chickpeas are one thing that I don't sprout anymore. So if you have, it's got to be a decent chickpea that really sprouts. If you're using grocery store seeds, so when I say grocery store, I mean the seeds that you buy for cooking. Yeah, you buy your chickpea for soaking and then cooking. They might not all sprout. Maybe they've been treated with heat. I don't know what they do, but sometimes they just don't sprout. But even the ones that you buy from a proper seed seller, I don't always have a lot of luck with them. I would soak them overnight, but I find that they have the tendency to become a little bit musty, and sometimes they've developed mold, and so I just stopped. But my answer to high raw, high vibe would be I would soak them overnight, and I would probably, because I've actually done this before, I would probably add a drop of grapefruit seed extract to the soaking water, which is, but not, you have to be careful. Make sure it's just grapefruit seed extract, because some of them have got some really nasty preservatives in them. And so you don't want to add that, but grapefruit seed extract is pretty amazing. I have a very small bottle that you can use internally, for upset stomach or something like that. Antibacteria, fungal, it is really good. So a drop of that in the soaking water, you could try that. But yeah, I would soak them overnight because they're big seeds.
Yeah, that's good to know. I thought about trying it, but I hadn't yet.
Yeah.
But that's very good. And I wanted to also talk about, because maybe we have some newbies here too, right? So what would you think would be the newbie, the white belt, the easiest one that have the least amount of failure rate?
The seed.
Yeah, which one would you say to sprout?
The easiest seed to sprout for sure is lentil. As long as it's a whole lentil. If you're sprouting lentils from the grocery store, don't take split red because they're not whole. It has to be a whole lentil. You can get red lentils, but they're actually brown on the outside. They don't look red. They have to be whole. And you can eat them within 3-4 days if you want. You can let them go a little bit longer. They're super, super easy. Another one that I love, which is just so easy, clover. I love it. And it's very mild, and, you can put it anywhere. Just a couple of tablespoons of clover seed in a 1 liter jar. And in a week, you've got yourself a jar packed full of wonderful sprouts. So those two are really easy.
One of the seeds that I started off with broccoli because everybody was touting that they were super ones, and they might be a little bit more difficult, I think. So that's maybe why I failed so many times before I finally got it right. But one of the seeds that I've been having a lot of fun growing is mung beans.
Yeah.
And I have the mung beans in this jar, and you can see that I have that cheesecloth with the rim. And you don't even need the rim. I just learned that you can just put a rubber band around it.
Yeah.
So I just take that cheesecloth and I put it over the lid, and then I would either put a rubber band around it, or I would screw the lid around it, and then I would just trim off so that I'm not wasting it. I love the cheesecloth because after they've been soaking and they're ready to be harvested, oftentimes there'll be a little kind of discoloration on the cheesecloth or the lid. And it's such a little piece, and I can just toss it and then start with something fresh and not worry about cleaning it off. So I really like that. But the mung beans, if anybody has ever enjoyed Chinese food, oftentimes that's something that you're going to see in that dish. And they're always so delicious. Now, I just started, so they may not look as good as they're supposed to. But I'm going to show you what they look like when they're
wonderful.
ready.
Yeah.
And they have this very mild flavor. And they're crunchy, so that if you wanted to top them on something, even a salad, they're delicious. Or you could throw them in a soup, and then you would get that mung bean thing. So I saw some very interesting things about mung beans and how, and there's kind of a trick to growing them. Do you want to talk about that?
In the carton?
Yes, talk about that too, and why that's such an advantage. To do that
so
way.
The mung beans, they like darkness, and they like being squashed. I mean, not squash, but they're like being huddled together. And so if you have it's got to be a clean carton, of course. I like to use coconut water cartons. I don't have a lot of cartons, so. But basically, you take your carton, you lift up the side flaps, snip them open, and you put your soaked mung beans inside. And then you just, every morning and every evening, you fill the thing up. I let them sit 5-10 minutes, drain it. And when that carton is full, you cut the carton open, and it's like Christmas every time. So if it's a liter jar, I would go with just about half a cup. If it's a half a liter carton, I go with a quarter of a cup. But I've been experimenting with, I've got some more over there in cups. And I was looking at them this morning. I just wanted them, rather than being sort of curved, I wanted straight ones. So I'm just putting them in cups with holes in the bottom and weighting them down. And I'm getting some really nice results. When we compare them to the store-bought ones, you have to remember that the store-bought ones, they've been artificially enhanced. So, we don't want that. So ours, if you still can get some nice sized sprouts, but if they're not as big as the ones in the store, that's because theirs have been artificially enhanced. So,
Right. I'd rather not have the artificially enhanced big sprouts. Yep, that's how I feel about it.
Definitely.
My husband Rick just brought over. We like to buy our tomatoes, diced tomatoes, what have you, and this is an aseptic carton. So this is similar to what the coconut water is, but of course this would be very small. You would have to put just a very small
that would
amount
be it would be fine for a portion.
Right. So
the only thing, because it's open, you'd probably need something, because they will shoot upwards. So if they've got a roof, if it's closed, then they have nowhere to go, and that's where they sort of they push on the carton, and they literally try to burst out.
But they're mild, so that if you don't know what to sprout and you want something mild, and they're much easier to sprout as long as you put the weight on them. So I think that's a really great way to go. Jesus Junkie said perhaps radish.
Radish grow really well in jars anywhere. I wouldn't waste a carton, because I don't go through enough cartons. When I actually get one, I keep it for mung, because mung are, they do better in the carton. But radish really grow anywhere, So I would just stick to the jar, or they're fine in a jar.
Okay, well, very good. That we're learning a lot today. So. Here's a question that some people would ask. I see a lot of ungerminated seeds in my crop. Failed again? What is wrong?
So a lot of the time, they actually aren't ungerminated seeds. So you can tell if they're ungerminated because they will be a different color. The ones that are lighter in color, if we're talking about clover, the ones that are lighter are actually ungerminated seeds. If they're darker, they're actually empty seed holes. So if it depends on, wait a little bit. What's the temperature? Is it cool? How many days into it are you? Give them a few more days, because sometimes a lot can happen in one day. So if you do have a lot of light colored seeds, you say, no, these are definitely ungerminated, then give them a few more days. If your crop is still measly, and okay, maybe change the soaking time. Because I always think, okay, it's my fault, let's try again. If after a few times I've checked the time, I've checked the soaking time, I've given them plenty of time to grow, if I'm still having issues, then I think, okay, it's the seeds. Because sometimes you do get a bad batch, not a bad batch, but a batch that isn't as good as it could be. So but usually if it's somebody who's new to sprouting, it's not ungerminated seeds. It's the seed hulls that have come away, and that's just normal. You're going to discard those anyway.
Right. And then let's talk about that. So do we have to remove those pesky empty seed holes when our sprouts are ready? And if so, what is the best way to do that?
So you don't have to. You don't have to do anything, really. I think it's a good idea to remove some, or I prefer to remove both, but most of them, especially if I'm going to be storing my sprouts in a jar or in the fridge, because those little seed holes are like teeny little cups, and they're going to hold on to moisture, and they're going to disintegrate probably faster than your sprouts. So you're going to risk spoiling your sprouts if you have it full of this empty matter. You don't want that in your crop. So the best way for me is to just dump all my sprouts in a salad spinner, fill it up with water, swish it around a bit, and then you'll see a lot of the stuff. First of all, pour off what you can, and then lift out your salad spinner, and then pour off what you've got, what's at the bottom. Because some of them float, some of them sink. That for me is the easiest way. And save your water, give it to your plants,
See, now you just gave us another tip.
Yeah.
So don't throw that water out. Because
if you've got plants, because sometimes we do use a lot of water while we're sprouting. So, if we can use it to water our plants, then we're not wasting it.
Right. Okay. So here's another question. I've noticed that after harvesting my microgreens, some are growing back. And I thought microgreens didn't grow back. Do they or don't they?
Yeah. So, okay. So some microgreens do grow back. So, for example, these are, like I said, these are sprouts. So they won't grow back because I will be taking the whole thing and, eating it. Right. If I grow garlic, onion, leek, chives on soil, then they don't have the 2 baby leaves. There's just one. It's a monocot. And so you cut them and they just keep on growing. So they do grow back. Also peas, if you cut them, when you harvest them, if you cut them above the first baby leaves, you'll get a second harvest, maybe even a third, but obviously the nutrition is going to be less each time they grow back. I usually get 2 harvests. Everything else, for example, broccoli and stuff like that, if you cut them and then you say, oh, I've got more growing back, it's basically maybe you put too many seeds in and they didn't get a chance to grow. So now you're cutting and they're finally getting, breathing space. And so they're now growing, but it's not like they're growing back. These are just the seeds that didn't have the chance to grow before. So no, microgreens generally don't grow back unless we're talking about peas or the monocots like, garlic and stuff like that. What else? No, I can't think of anything else that would grow back. Right. There may be something else, but I can't think of anything.
That was one of the reasons why I was attracted to the sprouting, because I wouldn't have to worry about the soil. And I wouldn't have to worry about, okay, now I have this whole, if I was using soil, I wouldn't have to worry about this whole tray of soil. And then what am I going to do with it? But I guess if I was going to do the microgreens in soil, then I would choose some of the ones that you mentioned that you can cut away and then they grow back.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that earlier you spoke about how that you don't necessarily need soil to grow those microgreens.
No, well, you can grow them on like these. I will be when they are tall enough, I will harvest them, and they're growing on terracotta. You can also grow them on hydroponic trays. So basically, the roots go through the tray and to the water below, and there's no soil, there's no dirt involved. It's just water. Some people put nutrients in their water. You don't have to. I don't. Apparently, ocean solution is a really good one. I don't, but I can't get ocean solution here. Mm-hmm. I think kelp is also another good one you can add. But so far, I haven't ever used it. The sprouts, they really do contain everything they need within. It's only when you start growing them for longer, or you want to grow them into, full-size plants, then, okay, they need some more nutrients. But for sprouting, everything they have is within the seed. All they need is for us to get involved and water them, rinse them, give them a bit of love. That's all. That's all.
Now, high five. I gotta say that. High five. Might be a silly question, but I have only grown broccoli sprouts in a jar. Can they be grown in soil?
Absolutely. I can't remember. What have I got here? I think this is cabbage. Yeah, this is cabbage. This is a cabbage mix and kale. But I've got broccoli over there, I think. Yeah, broccoli's over there. These are on soil. So these are mushroom trays. And you can see, so let me show you. This is just a mushroom tray, no holes. And this is another mushroom tray, and I put holes in the bottom. And then a little bit of soil, not much. They don't need much. It's about a centimeter, just over a centimeter of soil. Sprinkled the seeds on top, and then covered them with another tray. I weighted them down for a little bit. And this is about 10 days, 8 days, something like that. So definitely, broccoli. I prefer broccoli, the taste of broccoli when it's grown as microgreens. I don't love broccoli sprouts. I shouldn't say that. but it's the truth. I don't love them. I eat them, but I have to mix them with clover and other stuff because, I don't love them. But I love them grown as microgreens.
Yeah, Jesus Chunky said, great question, Ira. And Rick Tano said, I've grown wheatgrass on soil.
Wheatgrass is another one. Yeah, absolutely.
And get 2 to 3 cuttings.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wheatgrass is because it doesn't have those. It's not doesn't have those baby leaves. Yeah. You know what? Apparently, the best time to harvest wheatgrass is when it splits. So it's when the blade splits into two. That's apparently when it's the most nutritious and the sweetest. So every cutting you get after that, the nutrients will be less because the first one has taken everything from, not everything, but a lot from the seed. So the first one is going to be the most nutritious one.
Interesting. And how would you eat them?
I wouldn't. You can't digest the fiber, so you juice it. I have a little manual juicer, the Lexan Healthy Juicer. It's called. I've had it for years. It was cheap, and it was it's a manual one, and the pulp comes out really, really dry. It's perfect.
Right. I was able to watch somebody do that, and that's what I wondered. Okay, it looks like you could drink the juice, but
you want to drink small amounts because it's potent stuff and it can make you feel queasy. So you want to go, take a really small amount and sip it, and
wow.
Or mix it with another juice.
Yeah,
but I'm hardcore. I like to drink it neat.
Yeah,
but I tend to exaggerate, so I have to tell myself.
Would you ever blend it like in a high-powered blender?
What with the whole all the grass?
Yeah.
I suppose you could, but that fiber is it's fiber. But when you see what it comes, it's like wool. It's really hard stuff, and I'm not so sure that I want my gut to have to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
But I guess you could absolutely put a little bit in your smoothie. Yep.
Okay. Well, we are just learning so much today. It is just, and you could just go on and on for hours about this. And
there's so many things. There's so much. There's so much that we could say. Did we mention the root hairs mold? I don't remember if we did. Because that is the number one question that I hear. I've got this white stuff on my sprouts. I've got mold, or I've got mold again. What am I doing wrong? And 99.999% of the time, it's not mold, it's root hair. And again, those sprouts, they're really intelligent. And they basically, their little radicle, the beginning of their roots, when they're thirsty, it sort of sprouts out these little hairs, and they're called root hairs. And they can, if you get your phone and go and zoom in, they're very, very pretty. They're just like these little puffs of fluff, which can be mistaken. I mean, I remember I threw away plenty of sprouts in the beginning, thinking, what am I doing wrong? Nothing. It's natural. It's normal. And when you rinse them, they go away. And you usually notice them around day 2. Depends what you're growing. Day 2, day 3, day 4. And when you rinse them, they go away.
That's what I noticed, because I was doing, as you did, I was throwing away a lot of
I think everybody's done that. Everybody's done that. And the ones that are particularly hairy, like radish, they are scary sometimes. You wake up in the morning and think, oh my goodness, what is this? All the brassicas, broccoli, kale, but to tell the difference between the mold and root hairs, well, the name says it all, really. The hairs are on the roots. So you're not going to see it on the seed. You're not going to see it spreading out on the soil or on the tray or on your jar. Like the spider webby type thing, that's mold. But honestly, I've never seen mold on clover, broccoli, sprouts, talking about sprouts, mung, lentils. I've never seen mold on that. So root hairs, definitely.
Wow. Well, we are just learning so much, and there's so many comments of people appreciating all that you do and all that you did for us today.
Oh,
And
you're very welcome. It's my
oh,
pleasure
yes.
that
But I
someone
want,
actually wants to listen. All I want to do is talk about, eating well and living our best life. And sprouting is just such a passion. And, not everybody wants to listen to you gassing on about sprouting. So it's nice to be asked to talk about it. So thank you for asking me.
oh, yes, I'm so glad. And please tell us about what you do and where we can find you, and just tell us all about it.
Well, I help people make lifestyle changes. I started off for me, it was all about the food in the beginning. I did Dr. Campbell's. I needed help myself, and so that's how I started. I did Dr. Campbell's whole food plant-based nutrition course. And when I came out of that, I definitely wanted to dig deeper. And that's why I studied nutrition and then coaching to be able to help people better. Then I discovered that it's not just about the food. What goes on in here and here really does make a difference. So that's why I went on to study EFT, meridian tapping, and meditation to be able to share that with other people. So that's what I use. These are the tools that I use to, first of all, for myself, and then to help other people make lifestyle changes. You can find me on nickyperkins.com, or I have my other website, EFT in Italia, which is in Italian and in English. And then there's Lovingly Plant-Based, which was my first website, which was born purely out of the love and the desire to share everything that I could about this lifestyle, because people were asking me, sending me messages, and I was just like copying and pasting the same thing again and again and again. I said, okay, let me just do a website. That's you can find me in those places. Sooner or later, I'll actually put all the websites in one, but at the moment, that's not my priority. It'll happen if it happens.
They're all lovely places to visit.
Thank you.
And we're going to have links to all that in the show notes so that people can reach out to you if they want to, because it just I was telling Nicki before the show, just even the photographs of beautiful sprouts and other beautiful photographs, it's just a very calming place to just browse through. And then there's lots of great information there too. So before we continue, because I had a few more things I wanted to do, but I did want to, we're going to be doing our book giveaway spinning wheel, because we're going to announce the lucky winner. We have a book giveaway for Chef Vicky Brett Gatch's The Feel Great Desserts ebook, which has over 80 pages of easy, delicious, guilt-free, healthy, happy, whole food, plant-based treats. And each one of them is sugar-free, oil-free, and gluten-free. It's a beautiful book. And if you didn't win it, you should check it out. We'll have a link to that too in the show notes. But we're going to go ahead and spin the wheel, which I love to do this. And we're going to see who is going to win this book. So here we go. Oh, wow.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations, Lily and H. We're going to get this information out to Vicky for you so that this way she can go ahead and send that ebook out to you. So I'm really excited about that. And every once in a while, we do have book giveaways on begreenwithamy.com. If you follow me and subscribe, you'll be getting notifications whenever we do have them. And we've given away a lot of books, and it's been so nice to see that. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So Green Warrior, what was your biggest takeaway from today's episode? Tell us about that in the chat. And please click like to show your appreciation for what Nicki shared with us today, because I'm going to click like later because it was just so great. I mean, Nicki, you just shared invaluable insights and you empowered us to master the art of.
Oh, this was nothing. You could talk for hours about I could talk for hours about sprouting. There's so much that you can say about it. But it's finding just putting it all together, I guess, and choosing the right, the things to, in 1 hour, there's only so much that you can say,
there
I
is
guess.
only so much. But
Yeah.
maybe if you could tell us what your final take-home message is for our green warriors.
Yeah, go and get some nice seeds. Go, have a look online and get some nice seeds, and then put them into soak and start. And that's it. Just start, because you really have nothing to lose. And it doesn't matter what your way of eating is, whether you are vegan, whole food, plant-based, it doesn't matter. Just get those sprouts on your plate. There's just so much more nutrition in that teeny plant, by weight. Sorry, I'm full of seed holes after touching everything. If you're talking like weight-wise, there's so much more nutrition in the sprouts and microgreens. So, you're really giving your plate an incredible boost. And it's also such a beautiful thing to you're growing your own foods, and it's empowering, and you're having something to do with what you're eating. You're not just going and buying it, you're actually growing it. And I'm sure there are lots of gardeners who listen to you and who follow you, but for those of us who are not gardeners, this is really cool to be able to grow your own stuff. I was like, no, I grew that. Even now I think, oh God, Nick, that's good for you, Nick. You grew that, and I enjoy it even more. So get some seeds, put them into soak, and don't be afraid about it. Just do it. Obviously, wash your hands, be, general hygiene, but don't be scared about it. Just jump in and start.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't be afraid. And it's so, between the minimal cost for the seeds, and if you just wanted to even, start like you did with the little tray that you had, you could do that. Or if you wanted to invest big money into a glass jar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so inexpensive, so if you fail the first couple of times, okay, this is how we learn, right?
Yeah,
and you really didn't waste that much money on it.
Yeah.
And then as you do it, that for me, that's what, as I did it, I started to get the rhythm of it and the groove of it. And I was like, oh, okay. I noticed that when I do this, it comes out better. And when I do this, not so good. So it was a real learning experience as far as that one too. So I think, I agree with you. Just go and do it. And you're going to be so happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to start off with a humongous amount of seeds. Just if you really think, okay, I don't want to waste them, start with a teaspoon. A small jar, and just watch. And once you see them start growing, it's like, oh, okay, I like this. I'm going to do more of this. And then, you can start trying different types of seeds. But just start.
Jill B said, just do it and wait for the addiction to start.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a healthy one to have. That's for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it is. It's very empowering. Well,
It
if we were
is.
to tell us what you're going to remember, what's your takeaway from what we did today? Maybe you learned something, or maybe you just want to share a takeaway so that when people come back to and read through the comments, that they will see what your takeaway is. I also wanted to thank Jess Task Voice. She did the countdown. She did the promos. She struggled with Instagram and finally won. And Jess Task Voice, tell us who is coming up next.
Looking for a workout that's easy to take anywhere with just one accessory? Join us as Angela Fischetti leads an energizing total body workout using the versatile exercise loop. Whether you're a beginner or fitness pro, tune in for a session that's sure to get you moving. Don't miss out. Unleash your inner green warrior and join the fun. Wednesday, June 19th, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific on Be Green with Amy Live.
Well, I also want to thank you, Green Warrior. Thank you for joining us today. Your engagement and your support make these discussions meaningful and impactful. And I hope that you're feeling inspired to take a closer look at your food choices and make some positive changes for your health and well-being. Try the sprouting. It's so rewarding. Remember, every bite that we take, it's an opportunity for us to nourish our bodies and become the healthiest version of ourselves. And please stay tuned for more empowering content. Subscribe to my channel. Check out Nicki's websites and her different social medias. Share our message with others who can benefit, because together as Green Warriors, we can make a meaningful difference in the world. And as a special thank you to all of you, I am offering you 5 free recipes. So if you go to my website, begreenwithamy.com/join, I'll send them to you. And I want to share some love today, because if you go on Nicki's websites, you're going to see lots of love, just as she showed us today. But I want to share it with all of you. So if you take your right hand and grab your left shoulder, and take your left hand and grab your right shoulder, now squeeze, because that's a hug from me to you, Nicki, for all of you. I hope you all feel the love that we've been trying to put out to you today. And Green Warriors, if you want to join Nicki and me as we do my tagline, you can type it in the comments as we sign off. Are you ready, Nicki?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Until I see all of you again, remember, be strong, be well, and be green. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nicki.
Thank you, Amy.
Green Warriors.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Now you can get 5 free whole food plant-based SOS-free recipes from Be Green with Amy. Just click on the link in the show notes and Amy will send you 5 free recipes, motivational quotes, and more, so you can be strong, be well, and be green.